Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Bryan Tann, and we're back with another edition of Tann Talks. We got our stuff back. Hey, Katie coming in the clutch.
And we got fancy frames.
Yeah, and we got our fancy frames. Like I said, Katie, man, coming in clutch. Taking time out of the day. I love it. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Tann Talks. I'm your host, Bryan Tann. And, of course, joining me, as always, is the two loveliest ladies in all of nerddom, Ms. Katie Solitis and Melinda D. How's it going, ladies?
Hey.
Pretty good this week.
Yeah, Melinda digging down deep into the stuff and getting herself out of sickbed
Oh no!
to join us tonight.
All of a sudden, migraine hit, and I was like, "Kids, you're on your own today." Got into bed by like 5 o'clock. I was like, "Just do it without me. I'll see you next week." And then I was like, you know what? I'll live.
I love the fact, kids, you're on your own. Meanwhile, now your kids are outside fighting like Spartans for like dinner.
Yeah, they're downstairs deciding if they want to eat baby frogs or those little rock things.
Well, there you go.
But did they die?
No.
See?
They didn't do work, but that's okay. There are worse things that they could have done.
I told my kids basically the same thing. I was like, look, I've given up on cooking this week. It is fend for yourself night. Good luck, everybody.
There's stuff in the fridge. Don't give yourself food poisoning.
Dude, after seeing Zoe choke out another child, yo, I don't like Hunter's chances of survival.
40 seconds. 40 seconds.
40 seconds and she just choked the kid out. It's like, damn.
What's funny too is my my coach, he set goals for us. We've got the Spring Fit Challenge going on. And one of my goals is to submit 2 females from the gym. And he said Zoe doesn't count, which, dang it. That was my only shot. And I was telling Zoe this, and she's all hyped from her win. She's like, Mom, it's easy. You just got to fake like you're going to hit him and then swing around and snatch that back.
PTJ or mixed?
She's learned.
Mixed martial arts.
She has learned so well. You just got to fake like a punch and then just get him in the back. Oh, yeah, pretty much.
But that's exactly what she did. I mean, the speed with which she got around that girl and just hauled her down.
Dude, your daughter could be like the second coming of Ronda Rousey, just not catching roundhouse kicks to the mouth.
Oof,
that's what my sensei used to say, because I was like one of the only, it was me and one other girl, and he used to walk in and goes, and here you two short little cute little girls walking in going, I don't want no trouble, pow. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes.
But speaking of people just coming in and rocking things like hurricanes, look, we cannot get too deep into this episode without talking about the man himself. Ahmed Best. Ahmed Best, some of you might recall, you may or may not recall, was actually Jar Jar Binks, one of the most unpopular and hated characters in all of Star Wars. And of course, I'm messing around with stuff and I'm like breaking things. So
he took so much flack. And as an artist, you understand how any negative thing said about your work becomes internalized. And he really took it very hard.
Well, what's even worse is that it wasn't even just on his work. They were attacking him personally.
Yeah, much the person and the character.
Right. Much the same way as they attacked Jake Lloyd. I mean, that poor kid. Oh my God. Like,
and what's his name? The kid who played Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. You know, yet again, I think that, and this is what really irks me off about fandoms, is that they are so toxic and they feel so entitled to their toxicity that, well, you should just be happy that someone is involved in your IP. You can still be a quality human being. All right. And if you are into something so much that you can't separate the actor from the character or whatever, you've got a problem. Even as much as we trash some things that we don't like, we are never personally trashing the performers. We are never personally trashing the performers.
You as a human is not you as a character.
Right, exactly. Now Harvey Weinstein, I'll trash him until the cows come home.
Yeah, no, if you're a trash human being, I'm coming after you anyway.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
That's totally different.
That is completely different.
An actor playing a part that he or she is given is not the character, and we can separate that we don't like the character or we don't like how the character is portrayed versus the actor themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, look at David Tennant. He played, and I didn't watch it, but he was in Jessica Jones, and he played an awful, awful character. And,
great.
And nobody went after him because they love him as a human, you know. But it's
because the thing is too is that a lot of people weren't happy at first with the way the Purple Man was portrayed, but then it's like, yeah, but this is a more reality based show, so okay, it makes sense. And playing a horrible character, but he did it so well. You're absolutely right. And I think maybe it's because of my love for Star Wars that I have such a visceral hate for the Star Wars fandom. These bunch of He-Man woman-hating white supremacist douchebags. Like, if I could, I would seriously just Achilles slice each of them as if I were a zombified 4-year-old. Oh, I'm sorry, 2-year-old. He was 2. Yeah, I would go full gauge Creed on their asses as if they were Judd Crandall. Because you look at how they attacked Ahmed Best. You look at how they attacked Jake Lloyd. You look at how they attacked Hayden Christensen. You look at how they attacked John Boyega.
Yeah.
What's her name? Rose. The woman who played Rose.
Yes.
I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And then they go after Daisy. Yeah. Yes. And what was her name? Kelly. I can't remember the name.
Kelly Marie Tran.
Yes, thank you. And then they start attacking Daisy Ridley. All right, look. Did
Adam Driver.
And Adam Driver. Yeah. Now, was Rey essentially turned into a Mary Sue?
Arguably, yes.
Arguably, yes. It takes years upon years upon years for younglings to learn how to use the Jedi mind trick. She picked it up in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And she did it with her hands behind her back, and usually you have to have the
you have to wait. You have to focus.
So yeah, it was yada yada basically.
It was yada yada a lot. But then they're attacking Daisy Ridley. Why don't you attack the guy who here on the Plotaholics that we absolutely hate and we never say his name because of what he did to Star Wars? Rian Johnson tried to do something different, and then he came back and ruined it again. We don't speak his name in Plotaholics. We just don't. But no one was attacking him. Oh, but they go after Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, John Boyega. The list goes on and on and on. Oh, and heaven forbid, I actually had one jagoff that I used to work with. It's not my Star Wars. Why? Because there's a black stormtrooper. Oh, heaven forbid. Oh, there's a woman that's actually one of the heroes. Oh, you had no problem with Princess Leia. Oh, wait, I forgot. She got to get put in a gold bikini and, sexually objectified. Gotcha. So that makes it okay. You know what? Stay at home, son. You'll wonder why you probably have to pay to have a girl lay naked with you.
We don't need you.
I'm just, you know what? I'm just throwing all kinds of shade tonight. I have zero chill tonight.
Well, you're saucy tonight.
I really am.
Though, like, how empowering was it that we go from a character that he played that was the most hated to the man who saved Grogu?
Grogu, absolutely. And I'll tell you what.
And he want to talk like powerful, confident, like I'm doing this.
Kelleran Beq is probably among my new favorite characters right now, and I want more of this guy. You want to do a Star Wars show? Let's learn more about Kelleran Beq. And what I want to know is this: is it possible that he is descendant of Jolee Bindo? And if so, that would be awesome. Because Jolee Bindo was probably one of my favorite characters in Knights of the Old Republic. He was so freaking cool. And even if he's not, that's great too. Was he and Mace Windu? Were they rivals as Padawans? Because they were the only two brothers there. Inquiring minds want to know.
We need backstory now.
And the fact that he was a Jedi consular, which means that he primarily focuses on the mastery of the Force. Yo, come on, man.
You heard it here, Jon Favreau. Give the people what they want.
Absolutely. And you know what? We started to talk about this a little bit even before we went on air. This was an episode where we got essentially a lot of what we wanted because off air, each of us in our own conversations, well, me with each of you in our own conversations, have always said if Grogu is considered a foundling now among the Mandalorians, when is he going to start getting armor and not just his Bilbo Baggins shirt?
Although, just speaking of that, though, I was a little, and you learn about it later on in the episode, but foundling doesn't mean what I thought it meant.
Okay,
what were you?
Yeah. What were you thinking?
I always assumed that like foundlings were, we found you. You are not part of the order.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like you weren't born into it.
But not all foundlings are born into it.
Right, and that's what I thought foundling meant. Foundlings were the students they picked up along the way.
Okay.
Not like, oh, my kid is now of age to start on, walking the path and taking the creed. They're also a foundling.
Right. Basically, a foundling is like the lowest level. Yeah,
right.
They're basically.
I didn't originally associate that. I assumed foundling was like Din Djarin.
You've been adopted.
Right. You've been adopted into this order.
Right. And
so
that's easy.
I was like, oh, okay, now I get it now.
and that's actually easy to go because the thing is that they never really brought us into this cast before. And now we're starting to learn more about it, and they're doing it in a really good way. Now we're learning this culture of this subsect of the Mandalorians. And I really like how they were so quick to adopt Bo-Katan as well. And I love how Bo-Katan, once again, really ingrained herself with this new culture. And we talked about this last week as far as how we asked the question, how is she going to get herself in on this? She did an amazing job of it. She stepped up. And the fact that they were willing to listen to her, and we're learning more about the culture along with her. Like, how do you eat around people? You don't. You go somewhere. You take off your helmet.
When she asked that was so respectful.
Yeah. It's like, well, how do we eat with people around? You don't.
And then for as she's ready to go and do that, was it Paz?
Paz Vizsla.
He's like, no, you are the leader of this hunt. You get to sit by the fire. You get the place of honor.
And what's crazy is that I wonder, does she know that she served under his father?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she knows. Because there was a lot of animosity between them. And I think
very true.
This rescue kind of water under the bridge most of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, Melinda, since you haven't watched a lot of the animated stuff,
and he yelled at me. He said, I'm not allowed to do this podcast anymore until I start getting caught up.
Paz Vizsla's father was the ruler of the Death Watch during the Clone Wars. And basically, he and Bo-Katan were actually going to attempt to wrestle power away from Bo-Katan's sister, Duchess Satine. Because Duchess Satine was more of a pacifist.
Yeah, and I that up.
Yeah. So, but basically, she ended up choosing family over creed eventually. So, of course, the Vizsla clan have a little bit of a beef with the Kreese clan until the events of this episode.
That episode, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, if you haven't watched the episode by now, spoiler alert, okay, that's done. Anywho.
We just open with spoiler alert.
Oh, before we get into it, remember last week I told you about the Grogu bites?
Yes.
Did you find him?
Huzzah!
Oh!
I can't eat them, but they look groovy.
They are green. They are also,
I
haven't found the other ones, but apparently there are Mando ones that are chocolate and chocolate I'm reversed here. Chocolate and chocolate inside.
Nice.
And my friend posted a picture. I don't know if it's fan art or like soon coming or whatnot, but it's Darth Vader, and it's black, like a black cake with red frosting.
Ooh.
See, if only
So
they
if
need
I
to start
find
making.
them, I will get the box and I will make sure I share my kids. This is snacks for my kids when they go to ballet, but it's
I wish they were
colorful
gluten
vanilla
free.
cake, green frosting, apple jelly, and galactic sprinkles.
And of course, they're not gluten free or dairy free.
They are definitely not either of those things.
Of course not. Anyway,
but I
yeah.
when I found more, my kids, don't throw that box out. Need this.
I'll tell you what though, the one thing that I really appreciated. No, leave mom's shoe alone. So anyway, so the whole issue of this is we're seeing the Mandalorians and they're going about training the Foundlings. And eventually it comes up that, you know what, it's time for Grogu to start learning how to defend himself. And it's so cute. And of course, Paz Vizsla's son is just throwing shade right off the jump. Like, why isn't he wearing a helmet? Because he can't speak the creed.
Yes, snotty little brat. I hope somebody smacks you around a little bit.
Oh, I was about wanting to punch him in the face. Like, you know what he really gave me vibes of? The kid that played Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones. I couldn't stand his demeanor in that. I really couldn't.
Yeah, cocky little bastard.
Mm-hmm.
But he got his own after,
Yeah, he learned
episode
his.
basically taught him the lesson
That he needed to learn. But it was really cute because Grogu gets they're basically doing this thing where they're basically playing paintball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Grogu has to try to go with them. And of course, Vizsla's kid hits him twice. And he's just like, this sucks, blah, blah, blah.
Like,
and
before they even got there, when Din was like, well, maybe the lesson's for you then. Like, he was every parent who wanted to be like, shut the F up, kid, and leave my kid alone.
Can we talk about that for a second, though?
Oh, yes.
Mama Bo and Papa Din.
Yes.
He's like pushing his kid. The kid doesn't necessarily want to do any parents out there who have had kids in sports, when you have to push your kid into it and they can do it. And you're like, just go. And then you've got Bo sitting down there. He's proud of you. That's why he's doing. Like, she was such the mom there.
She
I
was
love
being
that.
a mom.
My dad was like that too.
I'll tell you what, man. Even the thing is, and what I'm really liking about this dynamic with the three of them is that you don't need to have a romantic relationship with Mando and Bo.
Yeah, they're co-parenting. It's great.
But they are still co-parenting. And I like this dynamic. It doesn't need a romantic subplot.
Right.
All that's going to do, number one, it's going to make making out really, really difficult since you can't take off your helmet. So making out is going to be hard.
How do we get families then if you can't? Never mind.
Yeah.
I was wondering that when they're like, he's my son. I'm like, okay, where's your mom? And how did that work?
Right. Well, I mean, you can go from the neck down, so you can still bump uglies. Okay. Just keep your helmet on. They didn't say anything about taking off your other helmet. Okay.
You just can't always helmet on.
Like, bang! Oh, headboard.
Yeah. You just have to keep this helmet on. The other helmet can be unleashed.
I thought that was the way. Sorry.
Hey, that is the way. Hey, it is the way when the force needs to be unleashed.
Oh man. Every time.
Every time. Hey, I'm good for it. So, of course, yeah, Bo-Katan is just telling him, he's proud of you. But then at the same time, she's like, are you sure he's ready for this? He can do it. He can do it. And that was such a parent's thing. It really was. And he just goes.
The sports parents, like every sports parent you've seen out there.
Right. And then, of course, Grogu does his Yoda impression of doing a bunch of flipping and then just 1, 2, 3. Like, how come the other kid only got one shot at a time and you get to take 3? That's not fair.
Hey, nobody said how many you could shoot at a time.
Yes, that's very true. That rule.
That's true. I guess I must have misunderstood that point of the rules of the game. And
then Paz in the background, he was like, "Yep, my son got what he was supposed to." Like, he just no argument, no nothing. Yep.
And I'll tell you what, man, I really appreciate the Mandalorian aspect of parenting because they're not like jerks to their kids, but they don't but they don't baby them, but they're not super hard toward them either. It's like, look, this is what you got to do to survive, but we can still be affectionate and care about each other. And I really like that. Dude, Mandalorians are a great society of parenting.
That's like when I take my youngest to MMA. There are some parents who, when the kids are sparring, get very uptight and worried. And then there's some parents who are just like, yep, they got you. It's good. You're not dead. You're fine.
Yep. Sometimes you're going
to
to
get
your ass
Mandalorian
whooped.
side of it. It's like, yeah, you're going to get hurt. You're in a combat sport, but you're not dead. We're all good.
But did you die?
Hit you fair and square. Next time, block. Yeah.
There you go. Next time, don't give up your back so you get choked out by the evil-eyed girl.
As a dance mom, my kids do the same thing, but I have a boy and a girl, and they're both in ballet. And they'll come home. My legs are tired. You've been on your toes for an hour. What did you expect was going to happen?
Right. Put your ass in the tub with some Epsom salt, call it a night, and do it again tomorrow.
Why do they hurt? Stretch. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. But did you die?
Yes.
Did your foot fall off? No? Then shut up.
Yep.
You asked for this.
Mandalorian in our parenting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You asked for it. You got it. Toyota. So
this isn't Burger King. You can't have it your way.
I like that. So Ragnar Vizsla, the son of Paz Vizsla, is suddenly grabbed by the shriek-hawk. Which,
can you talk about that name for a second, though?
The shriek.
No, not that name.
Oh, Ragnar. Ragnar.
Viking hero.
Yeah.
Danish king.
I'll tell you what, man. The Mandalorians, and I never thought about this before, but yeah, the Mandalorians are about the Vikings of the galaxy far, far away. Mm-hmm. They really are. So I'm wondering, though, there should be like a race of Zulu warrior type people in the Star Wars universe. I want to write.
They probably are. They were in the EU.
Yeah, but you know what? I'd write it up, and then Disney would like rebuy it, and then make it not canon.
Oh.
I'm here for it. I'll buy that book.
Thank you. Maybe I will write that book when I finally finish school. I've got so many books I've got to write. I've got a publisher that's not my publisher wanting to kill me because I haven't written a book yet. I've got people waiting on sequels to books that I haven't had time to write. Yep, I know Melinda. Melinda's waiting on the sequel to both Bryce Creed and John Baker. I'll get time to write eventually. Hey, I'm
waiting for the side story.
Yes, and the side story. Yes, absolutely. So Ragnar is kidnapped by the shriek-hawk. And of course, all the Mandalorians are like, well, jetpacks go! Bo-Katan's like, yeah, I'm just going to go get the ship.
Yep.
And that's, once again, it's good to see that the Mandalorian culture is much like our culture, and the men are like, go, go, go. The women are like, I'm just going to find the path of least resistance, and I'm going to go that way. While you struggle, I'm going to be smart.
And she picked them all up on the way home.
And there's one daughter sitting there going, how come she's the only smart one that took a ship? And I was like, oh, even she gets it.
Because young ladies out there, take this as a lesson. We men are dumb. If it weren't for you, we would not survive.
Work smarter, not harder, kids.
I used to say that back in back in the olden times before we had the conveniences of modern technology. Men were the hunters and the gatherers, and the women were the ones that kept the village and the household running. That's not necessarily so. Yes, we men were hunters and gatherers, but the women were like, you do realize there's a smarter way to do this, right? Because for all the hunting parties, there was at least one or two women that were running things that were like, all right, now you can go that way if you want to get hurt, or I'm pretty sure the first stealth hunter was a woman. Guaranteed.
With the maps, turn left.
Oh yes, absolutely. Why do you think all of our GPS have female voices? Most of our GPS mappers are women because they actually.
We're just waiting, to pull a Game of Thrones. It is known.
Hey, this is the way. Look, I've known for a long time that women were intellectually superior. I've known for a very, very, very long time. Feminine wiles are just too difficult to bypass. Why? Because we are not built to bypass feminine wiles. We just have this
we keep
overinflated
our whole
ego.
brain. It's all consolidated in one place.
Yeah. Well, we only use like a fraction of the top brain because all the blood is going to the other brain. That's our problem.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We got it all of it's consolidated in one place. We don't have to split hairs on that.
There you go.
So that right. She not only went after, found the location they needed to go to, but started organizing the party.
Had everything mapped out, and then knew, all right, but we can't go past this point.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
and then the armorer too. The armorer's like, all right, I'm gonna make sure you guys are packed well to go.
She really had weapons ready. She had lunches. She was like mom.
Mando mom.
Oh my God. Like the armor, I could just see the armor right now. Oh, those boys of mine. As she's putting and she has like all their names written on the brown paper bags. And she's like
crackers and peanut butter, saltines and peanut butter.
She was bento boxes that they
but of course,
out.
But Paz doesn't like bologna, but Din doesn't like turkey. Like she's making all their lunches like absolutely perfect, and the guys are outside kicking the sand. I want to go now. Stupid jetpack. We can eat sand on the way.
She's like, I used to climb these as a kid.
Right.
You need a jetpack. It's like there she is, telling those boys how to do their jobs again.
Yeah, and of course, somewhere a He-Man woman hit her. How dare that woman folk tell man what to do?
What happened?
Because she's smarter.
What happened? They got to the top of the nest. Paz is like, that's my son. And Bo's back there going, wait, we haven't cleared the area.
You idiot, hold still.
Now, it really freaked me out when he was like, there's a heat signature. I'm going to get it. Dude, baby birds are ugly as hell.
Yeah, well, the mama wasn't too pretty either.
No, birds.
Or dad. I mean, we don't really know if that was a mom or a dad.
Scary as number one. Birds are a terrifying thing. Like I am afraid of birds.
You're afraid of underwater. You're afraid of birds. What
yeah,
does that do with you?
I'm just, I'm not afraid of dogs. So yeah, I'm afraid of Zoe. With rightly so.
So I can't take you scuba diving. I can't take you rock climbing.
Nope. Because I'll tell you what, my big ass, I'm gonna climb a rock and then I'm gonna fall off the rock. And then I'm going to look like Chef in the episode of South Park when they killed him off.
It makes me wonder if they used actual, like, how they filmed that scene. Did they have, like, professional rock climbers come in?
I'll tell you what.
I mean,
they were probably climbing the wall.
No doubt. But climbing and all of that gear, I mean, when
that's a good
I've got the form-fitting clothes I possibly can, let alone all of that gear.
Yeah, I was actually kind of clowning them for a second. I was like, man, y'all supposed to be some badass warriors, and you huffing and puffing climbing. I was like, oh wait, that's probably like 15 to 50 pounds worth of extra weight, and they're climbing up
by itself.
Yeah, it's like, and Paz Vizsla probably got 200 pounds worth of armor.
Big old chains swinging underneath him.
Yeah,
that was a long way up. I mean, look at Link. You ever play Breath of the Wild? Link makes it 5 feet up and the stamina meter's empty.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that if I had to climb it, I would be like, all right, yo, we've come this far. I don't see them. Let's cut our losses and move on.
Rock climbing is exhausting. You get like 5 feet up and your brain is just shot from trying to find places to hold on. Forget it.
Another reason why I don't want to do this. So, of course, the baby birds come out and they start attacking. And, of course, Bo-Katan has to save... Well, Bo-Katan and Mando essentially saved the day, but it was more Bo-Katan than anyone else.
We really need to see Mama Bird upchucking the kid, though. That was kind of a gross moment.
Well, that's the way they feed their babies, Blech. Aren't you glad that we up that evolutionary scale? Can you imagine having to puke in your kid's mouth?
I mean, it was no more than when we saw, and I know how you feel about Boba Fett, okay? But it was no different than when we went in the Sarlacc pit and they were covered in that green crap.
I guess, yeah.
Well, this time they were covered in goo.
And how long was that kid down that Mama Bird's throat?
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I want to know. How he doesn't even have like a breathing tank on his body. He just has on a helmet. And it's not even like an actual helmet. That's a starter helmet, okay? That's like the football gear that you wear at Pop Warner, where it's just enough to say that your kid is wearing a helmet. It's like a step above those leather helmets they used to wear in the 1920s.
But I'm assuming that if it is a true Mandalorian helmet, it would have the same ability to be used. So there would be some
sort of a rebreather inside the helmet
something
itself.
in there, because the other Mandalorians, or the full-fledged ones, all have that. And if this is his helmet and he is supposed to be, a Mandalorian, even if he's a young Mandalorian, then he should probably have the right equipment. So that would have helped keep him alive.
Yeah, that's a
make
good
that
point.
suctiony sound when you take them on and off.
That's true. Yeah,
Like
it breaks the
depressurized.
seal. It breaks the seal. Yeah. So they save, little Ragnar. Sorry, can't talk tonight. And but we're seeing that the armorer is spending a lot of time with Grogu, and I really like this scene for a couple of reasons. Not just because every time Grogu is on scene, it's like cuteness overload. I'm sorry, the coos get to me all the time. Just, oh, it's so cute. I love it. But it's the fact that it's also showing how the armorer takes the Creed and her people so seriously. And it's like, yeah, I'm taking care of this kid. All right, he's one of us. He is instantly one of us.
To contrast the very motherly way that Bo deals with Grogu, the armor was very much the
direct
matriarch of the society taking care of Grogu. There's a very different way in the way those two deal with him.
She was really like stern grandma. Like the stern grandmotherly type. Like she's that grandmother that, yes, she loves you, but she's not going to coddle you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like how, in a lot of ways, each of my three grandmothers were. My paternal grandmother, she babied me. Well, she didn't so much baby me, but she always showed affection. But she always said, I ain't raising no punks either. And my maternal grandmother, she wasn't affectionate, but I could get away with murder. And my grandmother, who's technically my mother's stepmother, and she's the only grandparent that I've got left, she was very caring. She was sort of like a Bo-Katan type, but at the same token, when it was time to get serious, it's time to get serious. And when she was mad at you, it was like, oh, I definitely did something wrong to get her mad. So the armorer is really sort of like that. Like it's like in her mindset is, we've got to be strong, we got to be calculating, and we have to be the best that we're going to be. And she's looking at him like, you have the potential and you're going to live it. And she's just sitting there, and while she's using the best car to make him the next piece of his armor to go with his Bilbo shirt, we start dealing with his flashbacks. And this is something that we have not even remotely, we touched on it very briefly last season with how he got away. But we didn't touch on the psychological trauma that he went up. Because number one, this is a baby still. He ages very slowly. And we're back at Order 66, and he's just seeing people die around him. And once again, we only touched on it in that little bit in last season when he almost killed off like the entire group except for Din Djarin. And we see Kelleran Beq played once again masterfully, absolutely masterfully by Ahmed Best, who is probably one of the most underappreciated puppet actors, voice actors in the industry. Like, no doubt. And I'm looking at, and I'm, just looking him up now. And now the role of Kelleran Beq, I didn't know this, was in the game Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've never played it because, I don't really deal a lot with web-based games. And if it's a kid game, it's obviously not made for me.
It was a TV show, essentially.
Yeah.
In the style of like 80s children's competition shows.
Yeah.
I think it ran like 10 episodes.
And that's not something that really catches my attention. So the fact, though, that he came back, to me, that's very brave. To come back to a fandom that you were treated so harshly And I'll tell you what, man, Jon Favreau must have really had to beg and plead and get on his hands and knees. Because I'm sorry, I remember reading somewhere that apparently the vitriol that he was dealing with over Jar Jar Binks, he became suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he did an interview about that not too long ago.
I would not ever, like, if someone said, hey, you want to be involved with anything Star Wars? Maybe I should just, like, start the back end of a car while I'm at it. But he came in, and I'll tell you what, man, Ahmed Best, for being 6 years my senior, he's a couple months younger than Sharon. I'll tell you what, man, this dude came out looking like he was prime 30s and was just rocking it out. And I mean rocking it out. Because you rarely ever saw a lot of Jedi on screen dual-wielding lightsabers.
Yes.
You rarely saw that. In the movies, the only one that dual-wielded lightsabers, and I mean dual-wielding, I'm sorry, Darth Maul doesn't count. It was a single staff. That's not dual-wielding. You had Anakin, and he's really the only one. And no, Grievous doesn't count either. No, because Grievous is a droid.
What was her name? She was a Sith. Asajj
Ventress. Asajj Ventress. Well, in live action, it was only Anakin. In animated, it was Asajj Ventress.
And Ahsoka, too.
And Ahsoka.
Although she wasn't technically a Jedi.
Right.
She left the Order.
Right.
And in video games, I want to say also, what's his name? Starkiller.
In that one game. Starkiller. Yep, Starkiller in the Force Awakens games. And there are times where in Knights of the Old Republic, you can have Revan or the Exile dual wield. But I mean, in official canon, those are your only characters. You had Anakin, you had Ahsoka, and that's it, really. And I mean, I'm sure there are others that I'm probably missing.
And I think the trivia behind that is Lucas originally, lightsabers were supposed to be heavy and cumbersome. So he didn't want
dual wielding. He didn't want them dual wielding. Well, not to mention, and I think I remember reading somewhere, and this was in the earlier role-playing games. Because at first, yeah, you're right. They were supposed to be heavy because it was all the energy in that hilt. But then I think I read somewhere that the reason why it's such a big deal that Han Solo was able to wield a lightsaber, even if for a second, is because I think, number one, I think the Kyber crystals are infused to the wielder, so it makes it difficult for someone who's not a force wielder. But also because it's an exotic weapon and because of its weight, it's very difficult to manage. Where if you feel like you're making a simple movement, it's either so super light that your simple movement is overdone, and just doing something like this, you're going to take off your own damn head. Which is why you never see people like regular folks kill Jedi and then wield their lightsabers, because they're just not able to. It's too exotic of a weapon.
Darth Sidious also had dual lightsabers in Clone Wars.
In Clone Wars, yes, he did. Yes, he did. So, yeah. So it's still, we're counting on one hand how many dual wielders of lightsabers that we're getting. And Kelleran Beq is just like, yeah, I got this. And I'm sorry, a Jedi counselor who doesn't really master weapons. They master the Force. Yeah, they're able to fight. Qui-Gon Jinn was a badass. Mm-hmm. But he was primarily focused in the mastery of the Force. His lack of battle technique was bolstered by his mastery of the Force. And so to see a Jedi counselor dual wielding and rocking it like that, and man, Kelleran Beq is a badass dude. And I know he's probably dead, but they didn't really show.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
We don't know what happened because
that
he was separated from Grogu.
With them hitting hyperspace. And we know Grogu made it out alive, so there's very much a chance that we could see him again.
And that would be awesome. But here's the problem that I have with this, and we talked about it a bit last week. I'm all for them introducing new characters. I'm all for it. But then you got a Mandela effect, so many other things. Because now you're going to have people asking, well, why wasn't he involved in this? Why wasn't he involved in that? Where is he? Where is he? You still got people to this day asking, where's Mace Windu? We never saw his body. Brother fell 85 stories after getting electrocuted and sent flying a football field's length away from said building. Mace Windu dead.
Just remember, though, there was a big underground railroad going on. All the Jedis that went to ground had to go to ground hardcore. They couldn't let anything of them be seen or heard because that would draw the attention of the Inquisitors.
Kind of like in the Three Musketeers. When the Musketeers were disbanded, they disappeared. So what the thing is, though, is that, but then you start to have to answer these questions. Well, but when the Empire fell and Luke is reestablishing the Jedi Order, why didn't they show up? Well, considering the fact that he's got the last name Skywalker, are you really going to trust the child of a guy that single-handedly helped slaughter your entire order? No. You know what I'm doing? I'm starting my own damn Jedi Academy somewhere. No one's going to know about it. Matter of fact, I'm probably starting a gray Jedi Order. I'm just saying.
If you even bother anymore.
If you even bother anymore.
Yeah, they might have distanced themselves so much at that point that they're just happy living their life as a monk of sorts until their time is done.
Who needs organized religion when you can be a solo practitioner and live?
Yeah.
There you go. So that was essentially the episode. And I'll tell you what, and I'm looking here on Wikipedia, and apparently Jimmy Kimmel's nephew played Ragnar Vizsla,
yep.
which is kind of funny. I'm pretty, so it's like, man, Jimmy Kimmel is just like everywhere.
And Carl Weathers directed this episode.
Yes, he did. Man, I'll tell you what, Chubbs Peterson Creed is just, I'm loving the fact that how he's embracing the Star Wars culture. I really is. Because there was a time, like, when they decided that they were going to do, like, Creed movies. I was like, man, if I'm Carl Weathers, I'm a little bit jacked. Because you killed me off. I have nothing to do with this anymore. But I'm happy to see him getting in on this. Because Carl Weathers is another guy who is totally underappreciated in entertainment. When he had the chance, and I think it was after he was killed off in Rocky IV, he was in a movie called Action Jackson. And that movie does not get enough love. It really doesn't. If you have not had a chance, go to Amazon Prime and rent Action Jackson. It is so good. It is so deliciously 80s cop, blow 'em up good. All right? I'm sorry. If you can sit there and you can enjoy Beverly Hills Cop or Cobra or Lethal Weapon, watch Action Jackson, please. Carl Weathers did absolutely amazing directing this episode. I'll tell you what, the pacing was amazing. And after last week's episode where we got like no Din Djarin at all, it became like the not Din Djarin show. It did a really good job at focusing on Grogu and focusing on how Bo-Katan is integrating herself into the culture. Essentially, it made Din Djarin a supporting character without the disrespect. And I thought it was really, really well directed and well written. This episode literally takes the stink off of last week for me in a lot of ways.
This was the first episode of the whole season where I haven't said, why are we here?
Yes. This is an episode that, I'm sorry, I kind of wish that we would have started with this. And the other stuff we could have gotten as like a flashback. You know, give me this episode and have it extended where it's like, you know, as you have bathed in the living waters, and give us a flashback. You know, give me like a 2 to 5 minute flashback. All right. And, you know,
although I really did like seeing Mandalore.
I liked it too.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But that's why you get your 2 to 5 minute flashback. We didn't need the season premiere. I'm sorry.
They're
We
doing
didn't
it
need
again
that.
though. If you notice, episodes that are even numbered seem to be good. Episodes that are odd numbered are
Why do you think I hate
weird,
odd
off the
numbers?
wall. I mean, again, the why are we here comes up a lot. It just seems like the pattern with these Disney Star Wars episodes.
I agree. I'm really curious as to one, what we're gonna like. How are they gonna do this? Because there's only eight episodes, and we're already over halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're halfway through now, and like next week's episode is Peter Ramsey directed. Then we get Bryce Dallas Howard, who we talked a lot about last week. We said she could be Mara Jade, and then Rick Famuyiwa is back for our final 2 episodes. They've got a lot to sort of cram in because we don't even have an overarching season villain yet.
Well, that's what last week's episode was, guys.
It was to set up that, but I mean,
I don't want that story though.
I really don't care.
I want them going to Mandalore.
I don't know that we'll get that story, but that's the setup for the villain.
What I did appreciate, and I wanted to ask you both about this, because we even said last week, well, why didn't she tell anyone about seeing the Mythosaur? And now she does.
Because she gets brushed off.
That was really interesting that she trusted the armor enough to say it.
Right. And the armor is like, yeah, you see a lot of things. She's like, no, but I really saw it.
Nice hallucination, kid.
Yeah.
She did about, but at the same token, I think the armorer knows something more is going on. She knows more than what she's letting on.
How do we interpret that final "this is the way"? Because it's a weird response to what she had said, about really seeing this. Is it "this is the way" as in I believe you and we're going to do something about this? Or is it just "this is the way, you're following the path"?
I think that, well, number one, I thought it was really cool because I was wondering, and we talked about this last week, where Bo-Katan says, we said that we think that she was just trying to get herself in until she figured out her next move. And then she wanted the Mythosaur as part of her armor now. And, she's trying to learn and she's doing her thing. I think that the armorer was also quick to allow Bo-Katan in because I think that she sees Bo-Katan as, I don't want to say an heir apparent to her, but an ability, a person that can help Din Djarin lead them to glory. And I think that she sort of senses it. I think she sees it. And the fact that Bo-Katan is coming to her and saying that she saw the Mythosaur, she's like, all right, I'm right, but I can't show my hand. I'm wondering if the armorer might be force sensitive and have the foresight.
I don't know. I mean, go back to previous times that we've seen the armorer mentioned Bo-Katan before this. She was majorly shit talking.
Oh, absolutely.
There's some history there. So I don't know how to trust what's going on right now because I could see it going either way.
I don't want to believe that the armorer has a nefarious scheme. I really don't want to believe it because I just don't believe that Amara would do that to me. I really don't. I think that she knows more than what she's letting on.
See, and this is why I don't care what's happening in Coruscant. I want the Mandalorian story. I want to see everything unfold. This is what I care about. This is what I'm here to see.
Yeah, if you want to do something like that with that Coruscant story, here's an idea. Do web shorts or do those little shorts that now you have Disney Plus. Put them as sort of like companion pieces every week. Tell that story separately. Why? Because this is the Mandalorian. We want to see the Mandalorian. We want to see what the Mandalorians are doing. I don't care what's going on in the New Republic. I don't care. Here's an idea. You have all these IPs and you have the unlimited amount of money and the time that you can put on your own streaming platform. Guess what? Release this Coruscant show congruently with The Mandalorian. Put it out at the same time. Sort of like what they did with Buffy and Angel. When Angel first spun off, Buffy aired first, Angel aired second. And when they crossed over, you saw it from both perspectives. Do it that way.
Well, I wonder how much of that was done the way it was because they had to change their direction with the New Republic show that they were going to do.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Like there would have been some kind of intersection at this point, and we're not going to get that, at least not now. So, well, we've already kind of, like, we shot this thinking that was going to happen, and then it didn't happen. So now we're kind of stuck.
That's the other thing, too. Stop backdoor piloting
other
shows.
Cut it out. Stop it.
If you like Star Wars, you are more apt to watch other Star Wars shows. You don't have to backdoor pilot every single one to feed into the other.
Right. The thing is, Star Wars is a cash cow. If you can put anything out, slap the Star Wars logo on it, and guess what? People are going to watch it.
Yep.
That's just, it's not like Supernatural where you've got a niche audience.
There were 3 backdoor pilots.
There were 3 backdoor pilots in 15 years.
And I'm still bitter as hell that we did not get Wayward Sisters.
I would have loved Wayward Sisters.
The Bloodlines one would have been awesome too. You know,
Bloodlines would have been very, very interesting.
That Chicago episode?
The Chicago episode, yeah. That would have been extremely interesting. It would have been different, but we didn't get it.
I am bitter as hell we didn't get Wayward Sisters.
And I'll tell you what, I really loved Wayward Sisters. Like, I love that backdoor pilot. That's one of my favorite episodes that we got. And I'm going to plug a playlist here, a podcast here.
Brianna Buckmeister and Kim Rhodes have a Wayward Sisters podcast.
Nice.
And it is everything you would hope it would be. It is just the 2 of them being them, talking about random shit, and it's fantastic.
Okay. I'll have to check that out.
And they're short. They're like 20 minutes.
You know what? I finished those. I finished the Last of Us podcast in like a day and a half after you brought it up to my attention. So okay, but
I'm on a podcast right now.
So the whole point though is that you don't need backdoor pilots for Star Wars. You just don't.
Nope.
And I think one of the biggest issues, I think that they were probably going to force some of this stuff out anyway. And Bob Iger comes back and he's like, no. This is all crap. We're not doing this. Stop it. And I get it because, yeah, Disney has been putting out a lot of BS when it comes to Star Wars lately. I'm sorry. Solo was not necessary. It was not needed.
Didn't see it.
You're not missing anything. Oh my God, I know where those dice that were barely in the background come from. Thank God. Oh, wow, I got to see the Kessel Run. You know what? I'd have been better off just like hearing about it. All right, it's enough.
As a side note, I don't know if they still do it, but if you ever get to any of the celebrations,
I'm not going to be going anywhere near Florida.
Well, no, the one I went to was in LA.
Oh, okay.
They run a Kessel, they call it a Kessel Run, and it's basically like the Great Race.
Oh, okay. But do you have to dodge like space creatures?
No, that would have made it more fun.
I think so.
Puzzles.
I'd appreciate that because I don't like running.
No, you didn't have to run. Like you'd have to figure out puzzles to get to a spot in LA, and there'd be somebody there, and you had to get a stamp, and you had to do. My team came in second. We got screwed out of first place because the first team skipped a puzzle, and they used deductive reasoning to figure out, well, if we have 5 people on our team and we send 1 to each spot, one of them will go to the right spot. Whereas we figured out the puzzle like you were supposed to. So screw that team.
Yeah, you all suck. And I hope you step on a crack and cause your mom to pull a muscle in her back. I don't want her back to break because that's rude.
That is rude.
But if she pulls a muscle, it's just inconvenient enough that, well, there you go. Now you have to hear your mom complain about that pulled muscle in her back. All because you're a cheating piece of crap.
That's right.
Man, I am feisty tonight. I really am.
Get your feisty pants on.
Oh, absolutely. I am about wearing my feisty pants. See? They're great.
Nice roundhouse there, Brian. Nice roundhouse.
Thank you very much. So let's bring in bartender Smiley at this point, and let's get our ratings in for this one, because this was a nice return to form, I think.
The Plotaholics rating system for the movies is a pretty simple system. Basically, they rate movies based on how many shots it takes to get through them. So if you got a good movie and you get through it all the way sober, then it takes 0 shots to get through the movie. And then if you got a really bad movie, then it could take up to 5 shots to get through the whole thing. I think you can try to figure out the middle part yourself. So what can I get you?
All right, let's start with you know what? I think last week we started with Katie, so Melinda, you start. Give us your rating, and Katie, and then I'll go last.
I think just 1 shot this week.
Okay.
It was a nice return to form, like you just said, from last week's episode, even though I enjoyed last week's episode. I really dug getting to know more about the Mandalorian culture. It feels a little Bo-Katan fan servicey to me. But that's just me. I think my biggest complaint is they need to dial in what they're doing. Some episodes, it feels like it takes 100 years to get to where they're going. And then other ones, I'm like, oh shit, that's the credits. We're done already.
Yeah.
And their run times are not consistent. They're a little all over the place, which is, when you're watching it, isn't that jarring until you go back and you're like, oh, okay. Like I thought it was going to be longer. Now I'll give them wiggle room at the first and last episode. Those can be longer. You know,
I agree.
The middle one should be a little bit more consistent. And so I think that's a little jarring.
We actually spent less time on this episode than we did on the interruption of the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Those are some good points by you. All right, Katie, what you got?
I'm going with 1 shot as well, simply because when I got to the end, I was like, no, I need more. So I needed that shot to get me through the disappointment that it was over so quickly.
I agree. I'm definitely going to give this a 1-shot rating as well. Was this a perfect episode? No, because there's still a lot of issues in the Star Wars IP. But you know, Jon Favreau, he does a good job. This episode was written by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and you know they did an amazing job with this. I love the inclusion of Ahmed Best. I love the fact that we got to see Grogu finally being incorporated into the Mandalorian society. And I was actually really happy to see Grogu sort of have that separation from mom and dad for a little bit and be around other Mandalorians as well. I think that's good for him to get socialized a little bit. Maybe he'll start actually forming actual words and won't talk like Yoda. Because I swear to God, if that cute little kid starts talking like Yoda, I'm going to shoot him in the head.
I always wondered if that was like a you know, you learn later on with Groot, it happened to his whole race. It was they developed.
I guess that's why we never heard Yaddle talk.
No. So I always wondered if it was that, like Groot originally, because then Grogu, Groot originally could talk, and then it just became I am Groot to mean everything because their vocal cords hardened or something like that. So I wonder if that's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, so like he first starts learning how to talk, and he's like, yeah, I can talk pretty normal, I can. Hell is going on is what? Ah!
And
annoying am I?
His chainmail, I finally saw it. I'm like, oh, look, he's got his shirt on.
Yeah, that's what I've been referring to as his Bilbo Baggins shirt, because that's what it reminds me of.
I hadn't noticed it before this episode that he'd been wearing it.
Because you had to watch the Boba Fett.
Yeah, you had to watch the Boba Fett
that he was
episode.
getting it.
Well, no, I knew he had it, but I hadn't seen it in Mandalorian at all this season. I don't know if I just wasn't looking hard enough or...
We'll have to go back and look.
Well, because he wasn't... No.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I saw it and I was like, oh, he's got his shirt on.
I think what it was, though, too, is that he also hasn't taken off his burlap sack for you to see his little shirt. Actually, you know what? Even though I'm calling it his Bilbo Baggins shirt, it kind of reminds me of Gimli getting ready for the battle at Helm's Deep.
Yeah.
It is just too long. Like, that's what it reminds me of. But it's so cute. But
Why
I mean,
are you still making this kid walk everywhere, man? Somebody give him a scooter.
That was
I'm
so ridiculous.
serious, dude. Or at least like a hoverboard or something.
Give
Or
him his
like,
little cradle back and let him just zip around.
That
Come
was
on
the most
now.
puppet looking he ever looked. Was trying to walk in after the armorer.
and
Well,
number
funny,
one, his
when he
feet are like penis nubs, and you got him walking in the sand.
He's got Deadpool legs.
Yes, he's the Deadpool baby legs. And you got his little ass legs with them tiny ass feet walking in sand. Walking in sand is hard for me, and I have size 15 feet.
He walks like both of his legs eternally have pins and needles. You know, you can't like pick up your foot. You have to just kind of like fling your whole leg
Slide.
forward. And
You've got to just slide. Like his legs are so long that he has to walk like.
maybe that's why he wears the burlap sack. Like his legs just come out of his neck.
There you go. Yep. You know what? He's the head detective from In Living Color. He's just like a head and feet and hands. That's literally
that drawing that every kid, when they're first learning how to draw people, it's just a head and the arms and legs come out of the neck.
Yep.
So basically, how I draw today.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thanks for pointing out my shortcomings on
Good
that.
thing you're pretty.
Thank you. Yeah, because there you go. Yeah, because we know I ain't making a living drawing. It's all this here. It's all it is here. All right, so yep, we got a trifecta. It's a one-shot rating. Next week, there's no title on this episode, but this is a Peter Ramsey directed episode, solely written by Jon Favreau. And I'm curious to see what it is, because I'll tell you what, a couple of the Minds of Mandalore episode was really, really good. And even that Apostate episode, even though we were in that why the hell are we here mode, it was still well done. A lot of these episodes that Jon Favreau does are really, really crisp and well done. So I'm very curious to see what's what. And then, of course, every time Bryce Dallas Howard directs an episode, I'm always a big fan of. So I can't wait to get to that. So if you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the Plotaholics podcast YouTube channel, where you can get updated whenever we're going to have these episodes, whenever we're having episodes of Tann Talks. Next week, we're going to be back talking The Mandalorian next Thursday. Next week, we're going to finally talk the Winchesters. Melinda and I are, and that's going to be a good time. I watched episode 1 of the Winchesters twice now. And spoiler alert, I wasn't a big fan the first time I watched it, and I'm not a big fan the second time I watched it either.
I, in fact, told a friend of mine that. I'm like, look, I hope it gets better.
It better get better.
I know a couple of, I don't want to say there's spoilers. I don't know what happens in the episode, but I know who's in it.
I know Tom Welling shows up. I don't know who he's playing, but I know he's in it. Don't tell me who he's playing.
No. I don't know. But there are a couple of characters that are in future episodes. And so I know that, but I don't know what happens. I just know they're in the episode. I don't know their role or anything.
Okay.
I am putting a lot of faith in Jensen Ackles to not screw this up, which shouldn't really be an issue because
it's his world.
He's Dean Winchester. He will always be Dean Winchester. But
absolutely.
I had some pretty strong opinions about episode 1.
As did I. We're going to talk about those next week. Then, of course, we're going to figure out the next bit. Once we finish with The Mandalorian.
Listen, Firefly Season 2.
There is no Firefly Season 2, you trickster.
Well, I said that, and you're like, I didn't even watch the first episode. And I looked at my husband and I went, that sailed right over his head. And then Katie, are we talking about the same show? Yes.
But to be fair, I was really tired. That's what I'm going with. Hey, but yeah, maybe we'll do Firefly for the three of us.
I can't think of any other new shows that are coming out where I can say, oh, let's watch this.
I know that there's not a lot of new shows that are coming out that I even want to waste my time on, to be honest. Like Sharon picked our latest binge, and we're binging Castle now, and we're on season 2, and I'm enjoying Castle, man.
Read the books; they're really good.
I plan when I turn my Audible back on, I'm going to get the audiobooks. Who has time to sit and read these days? Just talk to me. That's why I have for some of my school stuff, like any of my educational stuff. Like I've got one person getting ready to read my entire study guide and record it so I can listen to it. Thank you, Kendra. And to study for my final that I just barely missed passing last week, I'm literally just going to watch all the videos attached to all of my chapters because I'm not even going to bother reading anymore. My brain is just not going to take it in. So either way, like anyone who's watching this really, really cares about my educational pursuits. We'll talk about this more after. But anyway, please share, subscribe. What's that?
I was just looking up some sci-fi shows that are coming out this year. I know Loki season 2 got delayed, but isn't Secret Invasion coming soon?
Probably not until sometime next year.
I thought that was early 23.
Supposed to be, but a lot of stuff is getting pushed back.
Yeah.
I know we do Loki, so.
Oh yeah, I'm all for Loki, and I know Katie is all about doing some Daredevil.
Yes.
I tell you what,
I'll do Daredevil too.
I really wish that I would have thought to
Especially
do.
Since John Barenthal's coming back.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that we get to see She-Hulk again because I love her. I really wish that I would have thought to do a Tann Talks on She-Hulk. Like, I understand the show has its problems. I totally get the show has its problems. But I think most of the whining is about the fact that some of these He-Man woman haters can't handle the fact that there's a strong, confident woman-led show.
So do it retroactively then.
Okay, we can do that too.
You can't do it after the fact.
That's very true. Hey, theoretically, my name is on the show. We can do pretty much whatever the hell we want.
There you go.
It ain't like anybody's paying us to do this.
So the TV shows, is that the plan?
Yeah, Tann Talks is going to be all TV shows. We can't do movies because that's Shane and I's thing. Okay. So I'm not reviewing movies unless Shane comes back to do them or Shane says he doesn't care that I review movies with other people.
No, it's all good. I'm just, like I said, I knew we had been talking about trying to come up with stuff to do.
Yep. TV show. Yep.
For new stuff.
Yep. TV shows. Tann Talks is TV show stuff. The only time I talk when I first started doing Tann Talks, I was doing movies that Shane just didn't want to go see or didn't have a chance to go see. So I just give my quick opinion on them. And then when I decided I didn't feel like going to movies and spending money anymore, it was like, why don't I just talk TV shows? That's easy.
I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. And if you and Shane come back, I would love to be included if you do Dune in November.
Oh.
You know what? I still have not watched Dune.
What?
I have not watched it.
Oh, it's so good.
I got the audio book. I listened to 3 hours of it, and I'm like...
Okay, the book is fantastic. I read it every couple of years, and I'm making my son listen to it now. But the movie is really
homework and watch the old and the new.
It's well cast. That was one of those movies that was going to live and die on who they cast for it.
Yeah.
And it is extremely well cast.
Okay. I think that I have to listen. I have to do the book before I do the movie. I got to figure out. I'm almost done with school. I got 1 3/4 of a class and a capstone, and then I'm done.
So close.
Then I'm done, and then I can write again.
Ooh, Tamara Morrison's going to be an Aquaman.
Yeah, he plays Aquaman's dad.
I don't know why I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's Aquaman's dad, Earl.
His
name's not. Yeah, he's Aquaman's dad.
I need to go back and watch that.
I'm renaming him.
Morrison. He's one of the coolest guys. He's so.
I'm renaming his character Earl though because Earl is an awesome ass name. I just love the name Earl. I like the way it just rolls off my tongue. Earl, great name. All right, so share, subscribe if you enjoyed. If you're still watching after all of that, then
hey, what to watch next?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, leave in the comments section. What show do you think we should do after The Mandalorian is over? So far, we're sort of leaning toward Firefly. We're kind of leaning at Firefly, but we're also looking at doing a deep dive into She-Hulk. Who knows? But, hey, leave your opinions in the comments. But I'm Bryan Tann. That's Madam Salad Ass herself, Katie Salidas, and Melinda D down at the bottom. This is Tann Talks. We'll see you next week.